Look, most people think the rich have some secret investment, some hidden stock tip, some insider formula that normal people just don't have access to. Like, there's a locked door somewhere, and behind it is this magical strategy that instantly multiplies money. And the truth is, that belief alone is what keeps most people broke for years without even realizing it. Because the real formula the rich use is not hidden. It's just uncomfortable, it's boring, and it requires patience in a world that rewards instant gratification. My name is Daniel, and I spend a ridiculous amount of time thinking about how money actually works in real life. Not on paper, not in motivational posts, but in the day-to-day decisions people make when nobody's watching. Here's the thing. The rich are not playing a different game. They're just playing the same game with a different formula. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. Think about the average person's money cycle. They earn money, they upgrade their lifestyle, they feel temporarily successful, then expenses rise, stress rises, and suddenly the paycheck that once felt good now feels small, so they chase a higher income. Then they repeat the same pattern again. It looks like progress from the outside. New car, better phone, nicer apartment, more subscriptions, but financially, they're running on a treadmill that just gets faster every year. Now think about this. If income alone made people rich, then high earners would all be wealthy. But we both know that's not true. You've seen doctors living paycheck to paycheck, six-figure earners stressed about bills, business owners with flashy lifestyles and zero savings, because income is only one piece of the formula, and honestly, it's not even the most important one. This is where it gets interesting. The actual formula the rich use is painfully simple. Income minus lifestyle equals investable surplus, and then time multiplies that surplus. That's it. No hype, no magic, no shortcuts. But psychologically, that formula is extremely hard to follow because human nature wants the reward immediately. You get a raise, and your brain says, I deserve better things now. You make more money, and suddenly your standards increase. You see people online living luxury lives, and your baseline shifts without you noticing. And slowly, silently, lifestyle inflation eats every extra dollar before it ever gets the chance to grow. Look, wealth is not built by how much you earn. It's built by how much you keep and how long you let it compound. And most people break the formula at the exact same step. They increase lifestyle at the same speed as income. Now imagine two people making $5,000 a month. Person A spends $4,800 and saves $200. Person B spends $3,500 and invests $1,500. From the outside, they might look similar. Same income, similar lives, same city, same job level. But financially, they're living in two completely different futures. Now think about this over just 5 years. If person A saves $200 a month, that's $12,000 before any growth. Helpful, but not life-changing. Person B investing $1,500 a month, that's $18,000 a year. Over 5 years, that's $90,000 before growth. Same income, same opportunities, different formula. And this is where psychology quietly destroys most financial progress. Because saving $200 feels easy. It doesn't hurt. It doesn't require sacrifice. It doesn't force identity change. But investing $1,500, that requires delayed gratification. That requires saying no to upgrades. That requires ignoring social pressure. And most people would rather feel rich today than actually be rich later. Here's something slightly frustrating but true. The rich optimize for ownership, not appearance. They buy assets before they buy luxuries. They delay visible success to build invisible leverage, and that's why their money starts working harder than they do. Now think about this. If you invest $1,000 a month with a 7% average return, after 10 years, you're not just saving $120,000, you're closer to around $170,000 because of compounding. But if you wait 10 years to start, even if you invest double later, you can never fully catch up to the time advantage. This is the part nobody talks about enough. Time is the real multiplier in the rich person's formula. Not intelligence, not luck, not even income at the beginning. Time and consistency. because money grows in layers, not in bursts. And psychologically, that's very unsatisfying at first. For the first few years, progress feels slow, almost invisible, like nothing is happening, which is why most people quit right before the compounding curve starts to bend. They say things like, "It's too slow. This won't make me rich. I'll invest when I make more." But the reality check is, waiting to invest until you make more is one of the most expensive financial delays you can make. Because the formula the rich use is not earn more, then invest. It's invest consistently, then let income growth accelerate the process. And that shift changes everything. Look at real life. When someone suddenly starts making more money, their existing financial habits scale with them. If they were spending 90% before, they'll spend 90% of the higher income too. But if someone was investing 30% before, a raise becomes a wealth accelerator instead of a lifestyle upgrade. This is where identity plays a massive role in money. Because rich thinking is not about being flashy, it's about being strategic. They ask different questions. Instead of, "Can I afford this?" they ask, "What does this cost me in future compounding?" And that one mental shift is powerful, because a $5,000 purchase is never just $5,000. If that $5,000 was invested at 8% for 20 years, it could be over $23,000. So the real question becomes, is this purchase worth $23,000 of my future freedom? Now think about how differently you'd spend if you viewed money like that. Suddenly, impulse spending feels heavier, not guilt-based, just mathematically clear. And here's another uncomfortable truth. The rich don't rely on motivation, they rely on systems. Because motivation fades, systems don't. Automatic investing, automatic saving, controlled lifestyle growth, they remove daily decision fatigue so their system runs quietly in the background. Meanwhile, the average person negotiates with themselves every month. "I'll save next month. I'll invest when things settle. I'll start after this expense." And months quietly turn into years. This is where it gets deeply psychological. Because money habits are rarely about math, they're about emotional comfort. Spending gives instant dopamine, investing gives delayed results, and the human brain prefers immediate rewards over long-term gains. So unless you design your financial life intentionally, your default behavior will always lean towards consumption, not because you're irresponsible, but because you're human. Now think about this long term. If someone invests $500 a month starting at age 25 versus someone investing $1,000 a month starting at age 35, the person who started earlier can still end up ahead despite investing less total money. Why? Because compounding rewards time more than intensity. And that is the core of the rich person's formula. Start early, stay consistent, avoid lifestyle explosions. It sounds simple, but living it requires discipline that most people underestimate. Another layer most people miss is income expansion paired with investment discipline. The rich absolutely increase their income, but they don't increase expenses at the same rate. If their income doubles, their lifestyle might only increase by 20 to 30%, while the rest feeds assets. That gap, that surplus, that quiet difference is where wealth is built. Not in viral stock picks, not in risky shortcuts, not in overnight wins, but in controlled financial behavior repeated over long periods. And honestly, it's not glamorous. No one applauds consistent investing. No one sees your portfolio growing quietly. No one notices the luxury purchases you didn't make. But 10 years later, the results become visible. Now here's something I want you to really think about. Most people focus on earning more money to feel secure, but the rich focus on owning more assets to become secure. Because income stops if you stop working. Assets don't. That's why the formula is less about chasing income and more about converting income into ownership. Ownership of stocks, ownership of businesses, ownership of cash-flowing assets. Each one slowly reduces dependence on active work. And over time, that creates what looks like financial freedom, but is really just the result of disciplined surplus allocation. If you take anything from this, let it be this simple mental model. Earn, control lifestyle, invest the gap, and repeat for years. Not months, not weeks, years. Because the rich are not sprinting financially. They're compounding quietly while everyone else is reacting emotionally to money decisions. And if this perspective is helping you see money a little differently, even slightly more clearly, that alone is a powerful shift, because awareness usually comes before behavioral change. Look, the money formula the rich actually use is not complicated. It's just consistent, patient, and psychologically uncomfortable at first. But once you align your behavior with it, something interesting happens. Money stops feeling chaotic, decisions feel calmer, progress feels predictable. And instead of chasing the next financial breakthrough, you slowly become the type of person whose system builds wealth in the background. Not loudly, not instantly, but relentlessly.